live. And give me 1 second. Okay. So I think I need to shut down some of these windows, but I'm trying to keep Facebook open, you know, in case anybody is trying to reach me, who's trying to come to this recording session. And I just kind of put out a message in our private group, you know, where is everybody? Was it hard for you to get in?
You know, not really. No. I clicked on the wrong link for a second, and then I was in once I came out and I clicked on the guest link for a second, and then once I clicked on the right link, I was in like 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So of course, this is our first night using StreamYard. Uh-oh. Where'd everybody go?
See me?
Yeah, but I've got, yeah, you're back. I don't know what just happened. Let me close down some more pages. I don't know. So Gio has been around posting stuff today, and she did respond that she was coming on the event page. So I guess we're waiting on her. Leonie is not expected tonight. Who else? Nicole, I don't think I've heard from. And Venita, I have not heard from. So I guess we just give it a few minutes, Kim, and see what happens.
Okay.
You know, I guess I created a little confusion last week because I wasn't very communicative because I was so sick.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah. So, so what's going on with you?
Too much.
Yeah. Oh no. Can you hear that? Like lawnmower or power tool?
I wonder if that's I wonder if that's some of the noise here. I can mute. Let me see if I mute. If that,
no, it's mine. I think I need to close my window. Wait, it just stopped.
Oh, okay.
It just stopped. But sometimes they do that. They usually do it in the morning. Nope, they're still going. Oh, here goes Venita. Okay. And then what happens with this one, Kim? Venita?
I saw her for a second.
Where'd she go?
There she is.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey,
I think you're muted.
Hi, Kim. Is I muted?
Okay. Yeah, what happens with this one, Kim, is as people enter the Hangout, I have to click on your name to add you to the stream.
Yeah, it said that.
So it
said that.
Yeah, so it causes me to have to pay attention to what is happening at the bottom of my screen. So that's a new task for me. But you know, I guess I'm getting there. And Venita and I did a little test the other day,
Nice.
and she had like the full screen, you know, pretty much like what our Hangout screen used to look like. But I've got something different going on here in this recording studio. And so I only maybe about 25% of my screen is our images, and the rest of it is do this and do that and you know, all of these functions. So you know, I can't have C anyway. So
That's that OG stuff, Kim.
so we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm glad you made it, Venita, because I was just getting worried about folks, and I want to close down my Facebook page to save on bandwidth. But I'm trying to keep it open in case somebody is trying to, you know, needs help trying to get in. So I'm going back and forth. Geo Moses and Nicole, like the point. Okay, so I think Geo is on her way.
Great.
I miss you, Kim.
You do.
So I'm gonna mute myself for a minute.
Okay.
I will be right back. Okay.
Yeah. Why we are live? Yeah, we
Yes.
are live. I've missed you. I've missed you. And I love your
Aw.
singing. Oh my goodness.
Why? Oh my
I thought
goodness
about it for
gracious!
days.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I'm still surprised I
And
did
you
that.
have such a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you.
Multi-talented Kim. Yes.
We all are, man. This is some group.
I'm telling you, we're special in every way. We know it too. We is that everybody else has to know that stuff. We're just trying to hit the world. Oh my! These allergies, this humidity is really, really killing me. It's just
Oh
awful.
no.
Yeah, this the voice is going. There's a lot of allergens here. I can't deal with the allergens too well, and this is the humidity is like terrible. Actually, it's better now than it was. Like yesterday, it was like 98%. Day before, 98%. It's really pretty crazy. But fall will be here in a minute.
You said it. I love how soon as September bears down, it gets cooler, and then all of a sudden it's that Indian summer week. I just love the fall.
I know. I remember when we were kids growing up. We used to cherish Indian Summer Week.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
We loved it. We knew it was. Remember, you knew it was coming. It was like, okay, summer's here for another week in the middle of fall.
just to appreciate the little things.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so it is 6:10, 6:09. What do y'all think?
I think you could start reading the summary because it's, we have an hour and 20 minutes left.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see. Let's do our welcome and all of that stuff. And welcome everyone to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our platform on StreamYard. All right, I just saw something happen with Geo. Let me see.
Okay, I made it.
Yay! You made it.
I should have tested this out earlier. Okay. Luckily, I have a lot of different browsers loaded on my computer. I'm like, no, I can't get it. What am I gonna do? So yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think it said it works best with Chrome.
Yeah, that's what I had to switch to. Man, look at the quality. This
Yeah.
is pretty
And
nice.
works better on a laptop or a desktop than a phone.
Mm.
So, Gio, we were just getting ready to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
And I was just in the process of doing the welcome. So let me welcome everybody again to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle, session 12, meaning this is our 12th book. We've been reading together since 2014, and we are currently reading the book of NightWomen by Marlon James. And we will continue reading it through most of October. We're here on Tuesday evenings at 6 o'clock. So we've been using Google Hangouts, not that anyone cares, but that has been our platform. And so they went defunct a few weeks ago, and we've been kind of looking around at different options. And so tonight, this is our first night streaming live via StreamYard. And so far, so good. But some of the kind of confusion going on here at the start is related to that. You can learn more about us and find archives of our videos on YouTube and also on our Facebook page, Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. My name is Michelle Odom, and I am located in New York, and I am going to go around and let me play with these screens and see what I have to do to get everybody. Okay. All right. Kim was here first. Kim,
I am
hello.
Kim Brandon, and I'm in New York. Welcome, everybody.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I was trying to get Kim on full screen, and I don't think it worked. So let me try something else.
I like the fourth string here. It's like the four of us all have a square.
Yeah, but if I click on you and then I click on this one person icon, that should mean that you are in the screen. Who do you see, me or Kim?
I see.
You. Mm.
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So now you're big, and the three of us are smaller on the side. That's nice. Now you have all four of us. We each have a small square, a nice size square. I know with Zoom, it always looks like this. I don't remember Zoom opening up when one person was talking more.
I
Oh, okay.
I think it did. I think it did. It definitely did on Google. Anyway, that's
Oh, yes,
Kim
on Google, yeah, but I don't think it did that on Zoom.
on
So maybe this
Zoom.
one doesn't do it either.
Okay, I thought it did. I'll try to play around with it as the night goes on.
Okay.
Um, and then we were joined by Venita.
My name is Venita Walker, and I'm joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut.
Hi, Venita. And Gio.
Hello, my name is Georgette Moses, and I'm joining you guys from Columbia, South Carolina.
Columbia. All right. Let me check this Facebook message because I don't want to miss Nicole if she's having, no, that's not Nicole, if she's having a problem getting in. What was the problem?
Well, I'd never opened this before, and I was on Safari, so it wouldn't load on Safari, so I had to switch over to Chrome, and then Chrome took a long time to come up and load the plugin. So, but then after it got loaded, it was fine. Just a simple
Okay.
couple of clicks. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So again, I apologize for the confusion last week. I was sick. That's why we didn't broadcast. And so now our schedule is off kilter. Leonie is not expected here tonight, but she's already given me the dates that she knows she can do for the rest of the session. And Nicole gave me some dates as well. But I'm looking for Nicole tonight, and I'm hoping that we can kind of maybe hang back for 5 minutes or so after the discussion, so we can look at what we need to do to adjust the schedule. But as it is now, Gio, we have you listed as the next facilitator
Okay.
on, I think it's 12 to 14. So, but yeah, we can talk more about that tonight.
Okay.
Tonight, we are still in the section called Niggerkin and focusing on chapters 9 to 11. And this is the summary. Chapter 9 begins with the death of Tantalus and ends with the death of Andromeda. Tantalus's death amounts to suicide in that he would not allow anyone to tend to his infected foot. The sight of the maggot-filled moving foot on a dying Tantalus sickens overseer Robert Quinn, who is haunted by the sight, and softens his attitude toward the slaves. Miss Isabel fails to choose Lilith to work the ball, which angers the ambitious girl. Isabel did choose Andromeda as one of the servants for the New Year's Eve ball. A jealous Lilith hooks up with her green-eyed sister, Orgon, and not long after, Andromeda dies a bloody death, leaving her young daughter motherless. Lilith's guilty conscience runs throughout chapter 10. We also see the truncated grief of Andromeda's daughter, the quest to determine the cause of Andromeda's death. Was it illness or magic, flux or Obeah? And the decision by Massa Humphrey to take Isabel's advice of using superstition to control the fearful slaves. Wilkins' strategy of torturing slaves to regain his position as overseer fails. Despite burning slaves in the field and burning an old woman in her house, Massa Humphrey does not hear Wilkins' warning that this is just the beginning of things to come as Obeah unfolds on Montpelier. Wilkins issues a pox on the whole fucking lot. Negroes walk in a circle that leads to the same cruel place every time. This is the message of chapter 11, where Lilith runs into her accusers, Gorgon, Robert Quinn, Homer, and the Johnny Jumpers again, as well as back to her own ambition to serve at the New Year's Eve ball, as she grapples with her guilt over Andromeda's death. There may also be a circle in the scene with field slaves celebrating Christmas with line dancing, whiteface, John Canoe, ukulele, and click-clack sounds, and a song about going someplace. Where are they going? Where does it lead? Will they get what they want or get what they deserve? We shall see. So, what I want to do tonight, what I want to do is, there are 3 chapters, chapter chapter 9, chapter 10, and chapter 11. And so I just want to take a question from each and, just kind of rotate. So do one question from chapter 9, then skip down and do something from 10, etc. So if somebody wants to choose a question from chapter 9, that on pages 3 to 5 of the agenda, get us started.
Let's start with 1.
All right.
Okay. Tantalus is dead by suicide, not letting anyone check his infected foot. Quinn is haunted or losing his mind and has gone soft on slaves, and he fears the goatweed tea Homer offers to heal him. A. Is Tantalus's suicide understandable in your opinion? Why or why not? Do you imagine you could have survived as much as Tantalus did, meaning castration, toes chopped off, tied naked to a tree to bake in the hot Jamaican sun? B. What are we starting to think about the character of Robert Quinn as we observe his softening attitudes towards slaves? Might he be a kind overseer? What was the Irish suffering referenced in the exchange between Jack Wilkins and Robert Quinn? Might that suffering lead the Irish toward compassion for Black suffering? What are the key similarities and differences between indentured servitude and chattel slavery? C. Is there a line to be drawn from the fear of Homer's tea we see in Robert Quinn to the fear of Blacks prevalent in the world today? And D. Do people not understand if they mistreat others, they will never know peace? Okay, that's a lot of questions in question 1.
Backed up, GF.
Yes.
What do you think?
Wow. Well, man, I'm gonna start with A, with poor Tantalus. Lord have mercy. That man, what else could he's been through so much. Good Lord, how do you just lay there and you have maggots crawling on your foot? What kind of torment? If he wasn't nuts already, he was nuts going through that part. I mean, good Lord. So, but I think I'd have found a faster way to die than just the maggots eat me. Oh, I'd had to
Yeah,
go to that lady in the hut. Look, I'll give you this, whatever, a cup of sugar if you give me some of that special tea. Thank you. I need to
yeah,
get, I need to get out of here now. It's not good. Yeah.
yeah. That was pretty gross.
Yeah.
He went through a lot. He really he really went through a lot. It's so amazing to me as I read these characters, the amount of stuff just any one individual managed to survive. You know, um, and I mean, and we have real people that had these kinds of experiences and survived. I can't imagine. I can't imagine that. I'm not that strong.
I mean, there's no reason. Anyway, absolutely. The Jamaican sun alone would have killed me before I got
Right,
castrated. And,
All
I just
right.
would have made a good
right.
slave and all. No, I just would have been a good slave, Gio. I had to be an indentured servant. I couldn't be
I
out
hear
there
you.
in all that heat like that.
I hear you. Mm, that's some hot. That's some hot sun, man.
Yes, it is. I don't know
Yeah,
if he even realized how bad off he was. I mean, at some point, he just totally lost his mind. So I really don't think he was aware of how bad off he really was.
yeah,
Yeah, I just think he had lost his mind a long time ago, and he was just breathing every day. I don't believe he was just aware of his suffering.
But you know, there were a couple of times where he went like in and out of sanity. Remember that?
Yeah, we all do every day. I
I
can understand that.
Well, he
mean,
certainly told Quinn some things, didn't he?
Yes,
He
he
told him about
did.
himself. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's why.
yeah.
He could have a little dementia too, I mean, these diseases, just because we have a name for them now, doesn't mean he couldn't have had, the diseases didn't exist then. So he could have had a little dementia, going to a little Alzheimer's because he's going in and out, or just downright lost his mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the diseases were still around, I'm sure.
I think I have figured out how to get you guys into the single uh, layout. I have to click on your image down here at the bottom of the screen, the part that you can't see.
Oh.
So I hate a learning curve. Anyway,
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, so,
what
Gio,
else about Tantalus?
nothing much. I'm glad he left. No, I feel
You didn't
bad
like
for him.
Tantalus?
Not like it wasn't. There wasn't a problem with liking him. It's just that he suffered so much. I was just glad when he died. Really,
Mm-hmm.
it was just too much, And I was just happy that he died. It was just time. It was just horrible. His life was horrible. He didn't have a life. Not that any slave had a life, but his,
Mm-hmm.
he had absolutely no life. It was just so sad the way they treated him. After a while, tying up. Who ties a person up to a tree?
Yeah.
So he was just suffering. It was just awful. I was just glad when he died. He was better off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
I see this correlation um, between Tantalus and all these videos that we see today of black men being murdered by police. And so when you see Eric Gardner video 300 times, I'm just wondering, is that turning some of our young men into a Tantalus where they are tied to trees or whatever for out of fear? That you could walk out your house and be murdered and it be on TV or on mass media or just out there. And so there's this correlation in my mind, and I don't have all the what I'm thinking is because he was castrated, which kind of impacts his manhood, and then his foot was taken, which impacts his mobility. So it just feels like, where are we Tantalus today? Where are we tied to that tree?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, if that
Yeah.
be the case, that form of punishment was used long before the slaves got the ship here. That form of punishment was also used in their homeland, Africa. If you were caught stealing, they take off the opposite hand. If you were caught, doing whatever, they take off the opposite foot. So some of the barbaric means of disciplining these slaves were actually bought. The thoughts were bought from their homeland because those things actually happened in their own villages. We didn't have, family court today. We didn't have criminal court like we have today. We didn't have Supreme Court justices. We had family, neighborhood, and neighbor justice, and they actually did those things.
Okay. Well, what about some other parts of that question? I think what the point you're making, Kim, um, takes me to part D. Do people not understand if they mistreat others, they will never know peace? Quinn was scared to drink the tea
Mhm.
that were made for him. Um, at that point, she wasn't trying to hurt him. But, you know, how can you ever live in peace? How can you ever trust anybody when you know the kind of dirty that you've done to them?
Mhm.
You know, seems like you always got to be looking over your back, looking for payback,
Mm-hmm.
and always having to go above and beyond in exerting punishment, um, you know, to instill this fear, um, because of your own fear of retribution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just a vicious cycle. But
Mhm.
Georgette, why don't you talk a little bit? Because I know you posted those articles in our group on the Irish. Why don't you talk a little bit about question B?
Okay. So, if you look at a bit of the history of how and why the Irish came to America, they were escaping the potato blight, famine in their homeland, and general mistreatment by British, who they were under their rule.
Mm-hmm.
So when they got here, they were the low man on the totem pole, like each immigrant, group, and they were caricatured and feared and abused. Similarly to the Italians who came here, they're demonized, and you can see caricatures of them looking like monsters and monkeys, and the same way they did Africans who were brought here, and Italians who came on their own, and how they do Chinese, Asian people, when they come, and Muslims. It's a crazy continuous cycle of this separation, uh, because you're the new ethnicity in a country. So you think the ruling class appears to need to separate itself by denigrating and harming this new class. Now, and so they were mistreated, and they were given the dirty jobs that the other people, the other white people didn't want to do. And it took them quite some time to build themselves, make a space for themselves in society. And it helped because they looked, Anglo-Saxon. So you couldn't immediately identify them if they chose to assimilate, to that extent. So they became the firemen and the policemen, and pretty soon they overtook most of those careers. You couldn't even get to be a fireman or a policeman in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, unless you were Irish American. You couldn't get in, and it's still somewhat that way. It remains. Um, but eh, one of the lines that really struck me, it was hilarious and pitiful at the same time, was when Isabel told Quinn that he all but grew up nigger, and he said, "Well, I think you did too, didn't you?" I was like, "What did you say?" So
Marlon James is cracking me up.
I'm
Sometimes I just laughing out loud. He's hilarious.
he gets that stuff in there in between, you going along with the dialogue and whatever, and then what was that? He did not say that. Yes, he did. She did
And
not. Yes, she did.
she covered her face. She
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, don't look at my lips now."
So somewhere in there, I think the story you heard, he tells that her parentage is from Louisiana. So I'm thinking that maybe the mother or something, they might be like octoroon or something. They're passing for white.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, yeah,
'Cause she is just too familiar.
Yes.
yeah. But she has the nerve to look down on him.
I know, and then just so cruel to black people who, she's
Yeah,
probably black,
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
oh my goodness, just some hypocrisy and mental illness going all through this.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that Marlon James, has included this, in the midst of all of this high drama between black and whites. He's also showing this conflict among the whites, and how they don't always like each other and get along so well, treat each other so well, and it's just, it's real life. So it's just interesting to me that he chose to weave all of that in there.
Yeah.
And interesting that at this point in the story, it looks like Robert Quinn is almost equating himself with the Africans, or feeling some level of empathy for the African people, and seems to be turning away from the harshness um, of regular plantation life. But we shall see. So let's move on. Anybody have anything else they want to say on that one? All right, let's go to chapter 10, which starts on pages 5 to 7. Those questions. Anybody?
I can read if you like.
Okay.
Chapter 10. Did I miss? You just have a lot of questions. Okay, let's go. All right.
Yeah, just choose one question out of chapter 10.
Yeah. Andromeda's daughter is running around screaming and wakes up Robert Quinn. Quinn clobbers her with his musket. She falls flat and he starts to drag her away. I see the counting methods of the overseer have not changed in 50 years. Isabel, is it Isabel or Isabel?
Isabel,
Yeah.
the courting method.
Isabel, okay,
Yeah.
Isabel says to Quinn. Hearing the commotion, Master Humphrey asks Robbie about it. One of your young slaves, Master Humphrey. Her senses have all but taken leave, I fear, Quint replies. A. What happens to a dream deferred is a question we have probably all heard. I'm wondering today about what happens to silenced grief. What does it mean for Andromeda's daughter that there is no outlet for her grief? Would you like me to read just A and B?
Yeah.
B. All hell has broken loose, said Montpierre, amidst the quest of masters to determine the cause and effect of Andromeda's bloody death. Flux, or Obeah. The house slaves and the field slaves are clear Obeah is not to blame. And one by one, they start to go berserk with fear. Homer slaps a young girl and threatens to send away other fools to the field. As in the question above, what happens when we must stuff our fears and pain?
Okay, thank you. Anybody?
Mm. Mm. Well, does anybody know exactly how old Andromeda's daughter was?
No, I don't
No,
think I ever said.
she's younger than Lilith.
Mm. And Lilith is 15,
Yeah.
14,
Yeah, I think she's 15. Yeah.
15.
Because, I mean, if you just put yourself in the place of a child and you see your mother die horribly like that. You were sleeping, right? And you wake up, your mother is bleeding out of all her orifices, and the way they describe it, pretty soon she would probably explode. I'm like, what kind of disease is that? Golly. Um,
Yeah.
and you're already in a horrible situation that you are tolerating to survive, right? So you have to follow the rules because otherwise it's death or some sort of other painful abuse. And you have no one. You have no one who you are sure loves you and you can go to, because the only person you did have who cared for you is now dead in this horrible way that you don't understand. So she's filled with fear, and then she's running around, and then she gets clubbed in the back of the head and drug away like a piece of meat.
Mm-hmm.
Just no sympathy whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though I'm a depart uh, even though Quinn is kind of, softening to the situation of the slaves, isn't there a better way to stop a kid from running around? Tell some other slaves to go get her, okay? Before she
Right,
runs and go
right.
hurt herself. No, he hits in the back of the head with the gun. I'm like, what with you?
Yeah,
Okay, this is a kid.
yeah.
Oh my God. Would you do a dog that way? No, he probably would have shot the dog, but what well. But anyway, back to the question. She already has problems because of the situation in which she lives, because slavery just propagates mental illness, mental and emotional pain that you can't do anything with it but turn it on yourself or other people in the same situation. So she's
Mm-hmm.
going to be, another victim of mental and emotional illness with no cure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I see for poor Andromeda's daughter.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty sad storyline to me. This just that anybody that kind of cried out in pain or fear or whatever just kind of got slapped. Shut up that noise. And
Yeah.
you know, did anybody else want to respond to that question? Thanks, Georgette.
I think the thing that stood out for me was when they were describing the body, and they were saying how the body looked like it had been dead for a day as opposed to minutes. And so just how much death you see, how much mutilation you see, how that becomes the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And so then what do you feel about your own body? And how long do you feel that before you're that person that they're waiting as the body decays? Because it's just so much death. So in terms of having some sort of emotional mental stability, how could you? You
Right.
know, so when they talk about this, you take it in and it becomes into your DNA, and great grandchildren feel that level of trauma. I believe that. I
Yeah,
believe that.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, what is it? PTSS?
Yeah.
Post traumatic slave syndrome.
Yeah, yeah.
There are children today that experience um, what Andromeda's daughter experienced every day.
Mm-hmm.
It never stops.
Mm-hmm.
That was sad.
Yeah.
But they don't see her as a human. They don't see slaves as humans anyway. So why would they have any consideration at all for her?
Yeah.
They
Right.
didn't see her pain because they don't see her as human.
Right.
Right.
But even Homer with the when the young girl threatens to send the young girl, you know, out to the field, the young girl is scared, because she's seeing all this death around her and hearing all this talk about Obeah. Um, so she starts going berserk. And Homer, slaps her into line. And and looks around at the other kitchen slaves and tells them, you know, uh, any one of y'all can get sent out to the field, if you don't pull it together. So, what is that? Good leadership? Um,
Well,
I would say so. I have seen a movie. I think the guys were on a submarine and something happened and the crew was like getting ready to they were mass hysteria and the captain had to slap down on them or they would all died. So I see that as, and you've seen it in movies, right? Where there's
yeah,
the
yeah,
old movies where the white woman
yes.
and she's crying, oh, the monster, whatever, and the guy comes up and it's snap out of it, Judy, come on, we gotta survive.
Judy, Judy, Judy.
Oh God.
yeah,
That was Homer was doing. Come on now, we got to get these greens going. We all gonna be at the bar and we whipping, getting whipped. Come on, snap out.
yeah, that is
And
what she was doing. But it still says to me is there is no place, there is no time when it's okay for you to express your fear, your anxiety, your pain, your grief, your anything. It's like no matter what is going on, and we do still have that situation
Yeah,
today. No matter what is going on,
right.
you just to keep going, as a Black person. Now, I don't know if everybody's having this experience, but as person, you don't get to just lay down and say, I'm a little crazy right now.
Well, Michelle.
I'm gonna need some time off.
Well,
Venita.
I was going to say, actually, I do take the time now. I think since I've matured, I do take that time. And I will tell you that I'm feeling a little crazy right now. And if I were you, I would, I would just fall back from me. Yeah. And I do lay down and say, I'm going crazy right now. I didn't have time before, but actually, I do take time for that now. So, no, that's not true. For all my life, I didn't have time, but now I really do take a few minutes to go crazy. And I warn others because I'm diplomatic like that, and I'm a fair woman. That I'm about ready to lose my mind. If I was
Yeah,
you,
All
yeah.
right.
I like how Michelle, when you say you couldn't feel these things. So Harriet Tubman, she had a gun just in case you had to feel these things while she
That's
was
what I'm
trying to get
saying.
people to freedom.
She didn't play that game. She did not play.
She wasn't playing either. She was just like, wait a minute. We're not
She
going to
did not play.
sacrifice the whole for one emotion now.
That's right. That's right. I think that's all
that's
Homer knows.
right.
That's all Homer knows. Homer doesn't know anything about soothing emotions. Her emotions have never been soothed. So she's only doing what she knows. It's not being a good leader about being a good leader or worrying about what happens to the rest. It's just simply she wouldn't know what else to do.
Yeah,
That's how she's been treated. She's been a slave all her life.
yeah,
But
So she
I also think that when the consequences, I love in one of the earlier chapters that she says, something like, if you burn master's lunch, he'll kill you. So
Yeah.
He's gonna kill you. So I think when the consequences were so high that somebody would hit you in the back of the head with a mullet. So I
See,
can't see Homer saying to somebody, there, baby. There.
no,
No, you I'm gonna slap you or they gonna slap you. Which one you want?
Yeah.
So I just the whole barbaric system of American slavery and slavery in the Caribbean is just like man. Oh man. So I don't fault Homer.
I don't fault Homer at all. I mean, everybody can't go down because you have a nervous breakdown. You know better. So Homer did what she had to do.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. The slaves
You know,
just
like,
needed a day off, right? They needed to not work on Saturdays and Sundays and maybe have a union, maybe get paid,
Kim.
maybe eat a little better, maybe not eat the chitlins. Yeah, maybe medical coverage. Or maybe not be raped every night. Yeah. What else? Oh, maybe their own shoes. Oh, yeah. I'll hook a slave up, But no, there was nothing. There was just you trying to stay alive. You
Yeah.
know? Well, that's
Mhm.
so sad. It's just, and I
Yeah.
don't know. I can see that in our families sometimes. Like my mother would say, "I'm gonna give you something to cry for. Cry."
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was
Right.
already crying. I was already crying. Why you give me?
Right.
Wait, there's a line. Let me give you some pain to take your mind off the pain.
Or even worse, when you see a parent spanking a child and say, "Well, you're not going to holler, you're not going to cry."
Oh.
Ooh,
I
really?
find that barbaric, and I've seen that uh, during this time. I mean,
Really?
spank a child first of all, and then turn around and say, "Oh, that didn't hurt. You're not going to cry." It's almost
Mm.
like you don't learn your lesson unless you cry and scream.
Wow.
Now, where does that come from? Which we know where that comes from.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that always disturbs me. That I've seen
Yeah,
that, and that's very disturbing.
very.
And
Just
will not
hearing it
stop
makes me
spanking
sick.
that child until that child cries or screams in pain. That's sick.
Yeah.
It is.
Let's take a question from chapter 11.
Where
Who
are
did
we?
one? Did one. Georgette did one. Kim,
Okay.
you want to on page 7 and 8?
Oh, okay. Um, 13. I'm just randomly picking this one. Oh,
Okay.
uh, getting what we want. Homer says Homer, but she be white woman, so she get what she want. Not like black woman, eh? Maybe it's 'cause you part white. That why you're not understanding black talk. Or maybe 'cause you're part white and you think you must always get what you want too. Me say the thing with black women, though, is that we don't get what we want. We never get what we need. But every nigga, I mean every nigga, get what she deserves. What? What do you think of Homer's counsel here? That sounds like some internalized racism right there, Homer.
Hmm.
That you're gonna say I deserve to never have what I want or never have what I need, and to get all of the brutality that's coming to me. Ooh, I don't know. Maybe other people saw it different ways, but every nigga get what she deserves.
That's the only thing I saw. That
Ooh,
right there stuck out. Get what she deserves. I was a little confused by that, actually, Homer.
Well, I thought not so much that she's I I see it as her saying this is the reality of what's going on here. At least that's how I see the first part of that sentence. We don't get what we want. We never get what we need. But the get what she deserves.
I still can't get over that part, Michelle. Can you explain that to me, please?
I do think that's an acceptance or an internalized racism, an acceptance, of whatever punishment we get, whatever depravity we have to endure. We're getting what we deserve, that there's some relationship between who we are, what we've done. When you think about the kind of beliefs going on during this period, via the Mayal, Obeah, which was the casting evil spells on people, the Mayal, which was the healing arts, and Homer supposedly is into the Mayal. But when you look at the beliefs, if you think about that, so if you've done something to wrong somebody, and somebody then puts the hoodoo, or puts the Obeah, or puts the roots, puts the fingers, take some of your hair, and all of that kind of thing. And then you explode. Then I think the thinking is you got what you deserve. Like somebody is about to rape Lilith. Next thing you know, they start vomiting and bleeding and exploding. There's a lot of that going on in the book. So to me, she's kind of coming from that perspective.
I also wonder about when she slaps the girl in the kitchen. That's the line that Homer has to walk. She just has to walk this real hard line of survival. So it's just no time to say, oh yeah, maybe one day I'll get that yellow dress.
Right.
So I think she just takes this real hard line of coming down real hard on her own people just to kind of keep it moving and keep people alive. So I just wonder if her whole thing is, if you slow, you die. If you don't work hard enough, you die. If this happens, you die. So whatever little teeny bit of power you have to keep yourself alive, you better use it. Otherwise, you got what you deserve. And it's sad because all of a sudden there's just no room for feeling like you're not getting a fair shake in this deal. No, you're not getting a fair shake. But for somebody to say you deserve it, it's like, that's hard to hear. That's I guess those days were that harsh. Because I remember, they were saying that the parents sometimes would beat the kids so that the slave master wouldn't have to. Like you would beat that discipline into that kid so that slave masters wouldn't have to, so that the kid would know, their place. So maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Our survival depended on them staying in line also. It just wasn't all about them. Homer was the head nigga in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
She managed the place. It was expected of her to keep those Negroes in line.
That's right.
So
That's
Homer was also, she was doing what she needed to do for her, as well as for her own survival.
That's right.
Because something went down, they coming to Homer. They may beat a nigga or kill a nigga, but they still come to Homer.
Yeah.
So she, she would manage that house and manage those Negroes in that kitchen. No, I'm just trying to say. Now let's go.
Did I miss something? What you say?
No, well, I'm just saying. Well, I'm trying to,
No, I said it when Venita said manage those Negroes. I was just thinking about Venita's Venita and I both are going to need therapy when we finish reading this book.
Yes.
Because Venita's like, I've seen nigga written so many times.
I just can't say it anymore. I can't hear it. This book really, we need to put this out there for the rappers and other people. Just let them read this book. They will never use the word nigger again. I'm just niggered out.
It's a lot. It's in here a lot.
I must say, I've never thought I would say I am niggered out. So that's why.
Me too.
So
Niggered out.
Yes.
I
Yes.
told Michelle. I actually told me we had a conversation. I said, Michelle, I can't take it anymore. I'm just niggered out. I can't even say the word. I don't want to hear from nobody. That's why sometimes I call them Negroes, because I just can't say nigger anymore. It's just too much.
Okay. Okay, Venita. We understand.
He gets it in. He gets it in.
Every other sentence.
All right. I am going to go back to page 4 and question number 5. How used to teach Lilith how to read, but stop when she turned her back to the women's who meet in the cave. Lilith hiss and say she don't need nobody, but lonely feel worse than a night in Circe's hut. Everybody hate her, and if everybody hate her, she gonna hate them back. Lilith was gonna get the love she want. Lilith know from the day she see the page would cess. Back then, she believed that one day she would wake up with gold hair. Lilith see the new massa in him jacket, breeches, and boots, and go to sleep waiting for him to wake her up. Lilith don't tell nobody, so nobody could warn her that she thinking crazy. Lilith don't want to accept things as them be, like a good Negro. Hey, has Homer given up on Lilith? Would you give up on Lilith at this point, or is there another approach? What might be the consequences for the community if Lilith remains an outcast of society? B, is Lilith lovable? Would you want to be her friend, mentor, mother, father, or sister? How might Lilith one day find the love she craves? C, images and word on a page had a huge impact on Lilith at an impressionable age. What does Lilith's desire for love from a white prince and her desire for golden hair suggest about what is going on in her head? Is it problematic for little Black girls to dream of having golden hair? Might Lilith have been better off if Tantalus had never filled her head with dreams? D, since Lilith never shared her fantasies of being loved by Massa Humphrey, do you think it would have been helpful to Lilith if people had pointed out the crazy or unrealistic nature of her fantasies? Why am I not? E, is it better to accept things as them be, like a good Negro, or to refuse to accept the status quo and risk being labeled a bad Negro? Why or why not? All right. Anybody?
I'm definitely not a good Negro. I'll say that much. Like I wouldn't have been a good slave. Lilith is a little out there about certain things, but she has other images to go by, sort of like today. It's getting a little better, I think, but it's the same way with when there were only little white dolls for little black girls to play with. They used to put the towel on their heads and run around the house and pretend they had long hair. Then we went through, a lot of things. So that's all Lilith has in front of her. But I do like Lilith's spunk. She's a pain. Sometimes you want to hurt the child. She provokes you. But I like her spunk. Somebody has to have some spunk. I mean, she needs to have her dreams. She doesn't, if everyone accepted things the way they are, then things would never change. At least if she can't change them, in order for her to survive, she needs to have something in her head that keeps her going. And it happens to be a mess of Humphrey and blonde hair.
I think Lilith's been in that basement too long.
No, she like to push you in the basement. That basement is turning that way.
She's been down that dark too long. And
Yeah. No,
I
that
think
basement.
for her to entertain being Master's lover and pushing her little breasts up in his face.
Oh, and they were little.
You know, little.
I'm sorry. I'm like, look, girl, you got to work with more than that. You're trying to get mad for Humphrey. Yeah.
I think that life is going to wake her up, and she'll, the one thing I know about slavery, it will wipe that little fantasy out of her head pretty soon. So she can keep thinking, because the if she stays on this path, all she can be is another Circe. So if that's what she has in mind, that may be where she goes. But I just remembered an interview with Marlon James saying that Toni Morrison was his mentor or something like that. And so when I was reading this, I just kept thinking of The Bluest Eye. And the correlation of a little girl in so much pain that if she could just get blue eyes, the world would be this safe, wonderful, magical place. So something inside of her needs to believe in this fantasy because reality might be just too hard for her, even with all of her power. So I hope she comes into her power and gives up this blonde hair business, because it's not going to end well.
Yeah, I agree. It's not going to end well, but I agree with you too, Venita, that I do like her spunk, but I told y'all last time, Lilith is crazy,
It's colorful.
not her fault, unavoidable under those circumstances, but nevertheless, but I do like her spunk. Anybody else? Georgette?
Well, boy, your question part B there. Would you want to be her friend, mentor, mother, father, or sister? I'm like, heck no, think girl dangerous. Okay, she gonna get you killed.
Yeah.
And and well, and I keep trying to empathize with her character, and think about, okay, well, why did Marlon James create something that seems like a modern day teenager, right? With all filled with all the hopes of the world that we could probably give a child right now, and put her in this situation of the harshest physical, mental, and emotional conditions that a human being can have put upon them. And yet she's trying to be this little flower growing up out of pig shit, and the horses keep coming by and stomping on it. You know, it's kind of you're um a self-fulfilling failure. You will never be happy. You will never be satisfied uh if there's such thing as being satisfied in those conditions,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have a realistic view of what your life is. She grew up in the shack with Circe and Tantalus. So she didn't have, frequent contact with the field slaves or even interaction with the house slaves. So she didn't really know anything about slavery until
Right,
she did what she did and got into the house, which was a safer option than being in the field. Maybe if she'd
right.
gone to the field, she'd become more realistic about, this is hell. Let me straighten up.
Yeah,
Okay, stop
yeah,
wishing for the dollhouse and the prince or whatever. But
yeah.
I think one of the things that saves this character for me is that she does have some kind of spiritual or psychic power going on here, which remains to be revealed. So otherwise, this is like this girl gonna get killed. She's gonna get a bunch of other people killed. Homer trying to save her. Look, child, get yourself together. Okay, that ain't never happening. So it's probably a good thing she didn't, divulge her secret desires to Homer, because Homer probably hit it with a pot. Boom, get down in that basement. Don't come up. You got some sense.
No, no, Homer would be the good. Homer would be, yeah, Homer would be the real good then. Well, she's a danger to the other slaves. At some point, if she discloses that, she would be a danger to other slaves because your desire is that strong to be the white master and that strong to have blonde hair. We can't trust you.
Yeah.
We don't know what you may do. We don't know
Yep.
if you go back tell the master we got a plan what's going on, which you probably will. you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if she discloses that information to the rest of the slaves or Homer or anybody else, first of all, Homer gonna beat that behind. She gonna tear that ass up. But no, she would be she would definitely be a danger to everyone else. She need to keep that to herself. I mean, she definitely need to keep that to herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do love Lilith's ranking people out. I mean, she cuts to the quick.
Oh God.
Oh, when she was in the cave and she was saying that those women smell like shit.
Oh God. I'm like, Lilith,
Like,
really?
like she's always got some line and she goes for everybody. Homer, anybody in the kitchen. Some of
Hi.
She
her
not
Yeah.
lines,
scared of
I have to read them 2 or 3 times because I'm like, she said what now? Oh
Yes.
my god!
Oh my
She
goodness.
got a pocket.
Anybody that comes for
Yeah.
her, she pull out the big guns. And so,
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
look at
don't
that
wait.
potty
She
mouth.
but
don't
no,
wait.
she wouldn't have any friends or mentors because that shit come for you, and she keeps coming for Homer.
Yeah. The one
Yeah.
person who's trying to help her,
Hmm.
She talking about her
And what
dried up womb.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay
Well,
then.
people say this about you.
I'm like,
Yeah,
they're
but
gonna
Homer
say something
though.
about your lips. Pow! No. Oh my God.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, Homer, I mean, Lilith, she has been an object of hate from the day she was born. And so nobody, they really rejected her,
Mm-hmm.
from day one. And
Mm-hmm.
so she's never been able to trust anybody,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to feel like anybody was caring for her or working in her best interest. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't, you know. So Tantalus is the closest thing, but of course
Mm-hmm.
was crazy as a bat. But Circe certainly didn't care for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's suspicious of Homer's motives.
Mm-hmm.
She just doesn't have, at 15 years old, she has not had any experience with anybody who just actually cared about her. So yeah, she pulls out the big guns, and so it's another kind of vicious cycle. So Lilith is the way that she is because of how the community treated her from the day that she's born. But
Mm-hmm.
now that she's that way, um, there's really no way for her to kind of fit into the community. Um, And and all she wants is to be loved. So
She's not gonna get it that way.
she thinks that's what she saw going on in that picture with the prince.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Ada,
But she's
You're
in the
cutting off.
cave. When she's in the cave with all those sisters and green eyes and all that stuff, at no point does she say, "Hey, we y'all, these are my sisters. Maybe this
Mm-mm.
might be something worth getting close to some of these people." She's calling people midgets and all of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh
She
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
she just
Yeah.
totally
She's
wow.
totally not lovable.
She
She's
is
not
not.
no,
lovable.
she's not.
And then
She's not.
she's got one person got one bullet. They got one bullet they could use for freedom. They can use for whatever, and they take that bullet and put it up against her head.
She has pressed a lot of buttons.
You got one bullet. You only got one bullet, and you trying to weigh whether or not you're gonna shoot Willis.
She does, but I still feel some compassion for her because it's if it weren't for Jack, hooking her up with Circe and Tantalus, the black folks would have left Lilith right there in the bush to die
Mm-hmm.
on, you know, because they were scared of those green eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a.
So
Mm.
she ain't feeling no affection for none of them. Sister, mama, sister, brother, whoever you people are. you know, they have not been good to her. So I just want y'all to remember that as the story goes on.
Okay, we'll try. We'll try.
All right.
But I do have compassion for her. I just love the fact that if I got one bullet that can get me to freedom, I'm gonna shoot this chick in the face. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that that's the reaction people have of this chick. So I actually feel sorry for her. I feel bad for her. But that's the funniest
Yeah.
line I ever heard. I only got one bullet.
You
No.
know, let's see if we can get in one more quick question from chapter 10 or 11, um, starting on page 6.
Oh, here's page 6. Well, I'm not going to read anything that has the N word in
Please.
Well, that's gonna be hard.
Right.
it.
Right.
Okay. Does anybody else see anything that they would like to?
uh, I would like to do 11.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you read it though?
The old woman's house smells like arse and was filled.
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead, Kim. Go, Kim. Go ahead.
Oh, that cracked me up. And was filled with hanging rags, feathers, and bones. One of the drivers kicked open a clay pot, and a stink rise up so gruesome that one say that a stillborn baby she keeping in there. No wonders I never see a puss in these lands. One of them say, when they fish out a rotten one, in another clay pot be all sort of balls that made of dirt. Some roll up with teeth and bone and feather and rags. Was the old woman doing abortion? B. Would you rather kill your fetus or allow a child to be born into chattel slavery? C. Was the infertility in Jamaica during this period possibly related to a practice of abortion?
Thank
That's a
you.
great question, Michelle.
Mhm.
Wow. I never even thought about
Yeah.
abortion during slavery.
Yeah, and you know, this paragraph didn't strike me when I read the book the first time, but
Uh-huh.
as I was reading it second time, and I'm reading much more slowly, and I'm reading this, and I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
Is that an abortion we're talking about? And and I just and I was hearing somebody who kept kind of telling us in the beginning, um, about the demographic differences and how there was such a problem with infertility
Wow.
during this period. And so that's when I read that, and there's actually something coming up in the next set of chapters that I think confirms that this was abortion going on.
Wow.
So yeah,
I think I
yeah,
would kill the child as opposed to letting them grow into slavery.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't
I would,
have because they could be ripped away from your arms any second. No, I'd be like beloved.
yeah,
No. And
yeah.
wasn't there also a practice of like they would have breeding farms in Jamaica and maybe elsewhere in the Caribbean?
Did some pretty hideous things,
Yeah,
actually.
and in the US.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading
Yeah.
somewhere where they would put bags over people's heads, and then
Mhm.
you would have to mate with whoever's in the room, and sometimes it could be your sibling or your parent.
Yes,
Right.
I read.
Mm.
Yes, could be your mother.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the good news is they made it for the infertility in Jamaica since then.
Say that
Yes,
again.
yes, they have.
That's good news.
They came back.
They came back strong. Don't worry yourself about that. They made up. We ain't had enough. Plenty of folk. I
Uh-huh.
can understand that though. Yeah, well, I mean, during the voyage, I read a lot about coming from Africa to here. Um, if slaves got the opportunity, they would jump off the ships or throw their children off the ships.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which I probably would have done that myself. Took my kids and just jumped.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't know what was ahead of them. That much less, they knew they were going to be going to a life of servitude, cruel servitude. They had no idea what's ahead of them, but they know it wasn't good when you got people packed in like sardines on a ship and you take them from their homeland. So that happened even before they got there. So they probably, since a continuation at that point, you might have been
Right.
impregnated, but you had to find a way to get rid of that child to keep him from being born into slavery.
Right. And back in one of the earlier chapters where he was talking about the attributes of the different kinds of Africans,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember which one it was, but one of them,
It was
they were known.
it was the first page of chapter 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So, no, I could definitely, I could see suicide easier than I could see survival under these
Oh yeah.
circumstances. I don't understand how people survived.
Well, that's what I want to say about Tantalus. What was he thinking? He should have been killed this up a long time ago.
It says if a Negro is Igbo or she born to Igbo, sooner or later she's gonna kill herself. Yeah, yeah. I don't. You know. Uh, so yeah. So I thought that was I thought that was that was an interesting little piece. And
Yeah.
James, you know, he just kind of dropped stuff. Um, you know, without going into a lot of detail about it, and either you catch it or you don't. But that was, you know, so in the midst of laughing about the house that smells like ours,
Right.
Yes.
we're getting this description, you know, of abortion, and pretty interesting. Very quickly, number 12. No matter what we do, no matter what magic we have, every Negro ends up back in the same place, chained, branded, whipped, or hung. Marlon James puts it this way: every Negro walk in a circle. Take that and make of it what you will. A road set before every Negro, from he slipped through the slave ship or his mother pussy, that be just as dark, black and long and wide like 1,000 year. And when a Negro walk, light get take away from him, or when he hit a curve or a bend. Worse, he never see that he walking round and round and always come back to where he leave first. That be why the Negro not free. He can't walk like free man, and no matter where he walk, the road take he right back to the chain, the branding iron, the cat o' nine, or the noose that be the blessing that no nigger woman can curse. You believe this? Why or why not? Does this point of view strike you as realistic or pessimistic? And if there is no path to progress, why should we keep walking? Anybody?
Well, I have a question with this section, and it's basically the term where he says the noose that be the blessing that no nigger woman can curse. Why would they consider it a blessing?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of reading that part as, despite all the Obeah, despite all the Mayal, despite all the, you know, um, uh, power we supposedly have, um, through these spirits and gods, um, we don't have any power uh, over this. Stop the chain. We can't stop the branding iron. We can't stop the cat o' nine.
What is Cat 09?
A whip.
Oh,
And
okay.
see how fortunate you are. You don't know that. If it were 200 years ago.
No, I mean, I never heard, I've heard a lot of terms, but I've never heard the term Cat 09.
I think
Yeah,
I think
Cat
that's
of
the
nine
whip that
tails.
has the tip, the metal tips on the end. That's the kind.
I just never knew it. I heard straight up news and whip, period. I didn't know
yeah,
there's a special kind of whip.
I think it's short for cat of nine tails.
yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
it's a whip that has nine little whips with, so it has one handle and then 9 whips in it. So every time you hit somebody one time, they get hit 9 times.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, Kim know
Right.
about the 9 whips. See, I didn't know about the 9 whips with 1 whip. Okay, Kim, go.
I don't
Yeah.
know what to say.
Is there something we need to know about
I don't know.
what's going on at Kim's
I
house?
just heard the one with the Kim is crazy. She said, "Well, if you get hit one time, you get 9 whips instead of 1." And I'm like, "Well, okay, all right." And she said with
200 years
conviction, like
ago,
she knows
Venita,
what she talking
200
about.
years ago, you knew what that was.
Yeah, I guess you did, but I just never heard of that term. I just know the
You
whip.
have blacked it out of your memory banks.
Oh,
I
man.
probably have because you remember I wouldn't have been a good slave anyway. So I died early. I died
Okay.
early. I got a chance because
Okay.
the
You
cat
haven't
on
made it as
9.
long as Lilith has.
Yeah, right. See, I never got any kind of whip because I was not doing. I wasn't a good slave. I probably committed suicide or something.
Yeah.
Gio, just call me dominatrix.
All right
Oh,
now.
see,
I'm gonna beat somebody before this lifetime is over.
see. I
Okay.
Oh.
told you gotta watch him. You
You
gotta
can
watch
edit that
him.
out, right, Michelle? You can edit that out.
Y'all know I ain't gonna be editing nothing.
We just being
This is
silly at
raw.
this moment.
It's raw.
And then Kim will wonder why she got all these likes.
Right. And
What
we
you
Serious
say?
friend
What you say,
request.
Robin? What you say over there, Venita?
I said she
it
gonna wonder. Then Kim gonna act like she don't know why she got all these likes on Facebook.
is,
Not.
yeah, there's somebody who apparently was watching us at some point tonight named Joseph Smith. So
Yeah, I
if you
saw that.
Kim, you'll know
Yeah.
why.
I
But
just see his name flash up. Joseph Smith. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
What?
and in the broadcast, but if you guys could stay for a couple of minutes. I don't think we can really do too much without Nicole and Leonie, but let's see.
Okay.
So I'm going to end the broadcast and thank you, everyone, for a wonderful time as usual. And we will be here next week in our new home on StreamYard, I guess, reading our story together. Have a good week.
Excuse me. Oh, Lord.